Speaking up for what's right. Helping out when things go wrong. Raising our voices alone or together. Not just breaking news, but breaking barriers. Fighting for victory on the battlefield and on the playing field. Seeing the world through new eyes and the earth from miles above. Redefining beauty, brains, and what it really means to be queen. Making ourselves heard on stage and on screen. Showing the way in Silicon Valley and showing up for others wherever help is needed most. Not just making our mark, but making a difference. Now that's a job for a Girl Scout. Girl Scouts, preparing girls for a lifetime of leadership.
How often have you heard life is a journey? It's true. Every day of your life takes you somewhere you've never been before. You discover who you are and what you're made of as you face the unknown and uncertain, progress and pain, love and loss. What you might not know is that this journey comes with a guide.
God uses negatives to accomplish positives. He connects things that don't look connectable when the timing is right and everything is looking wrong.
In his new book, Pathways, Dr. Tony Evans helps you discover the very personal nature of God as he maneuvers you toward your purpose.
God wants to use you. God wants to empower you because he wants you to make a difference, even when it looks like it's not working out.
Discover how to stay confident and committed no matter where your journey leads you, and experience the joy and satisfaction God promises when you do. Pathways, from Providence to Purpose. Brand new from Dr. Tony Evans.
Who's going to herald a revolution in medical treatment? The idea was to stick the lab inside the box. It's impossible, physically.
Elizabeth was lying about the accuracy of the blood tests. She was deceiving investors. It's fake it until you make it.
That's not the way you approach science that's going to be impacting people's lives. Quite frankly, people can die.
Shout my Southern soul lovers out there, y'all. It's your boy Tay1. Yeah. And this song right here is strictly for the ladies, y'all. Shout my Southern soul lovers out there, y'all. It's your boy Tay1. Yeah. Southern soul lovers out there, y'all. It's your boy Tay1. And this song right here is strictly for the ladies, y'all. But I'm speaking for my fellas on this one right here. So hey ladies, listen up. Hey there ladies, all around the world. This song right here is just for you. I'm speaking for the feelers. When we be checking you out now, and you know what we be trying to do. You know, cause you got your hair done and your nails done, looking real good. Oh yeah, make a player wanna holler, make a man spend his dollar. Now baby, oh baby, ooh baby, baby don't move it baby, like that. If I can't have you, nah, baby don't shake it girl, like that, no. If I can't have you, baby don't do it darling, like that, no, girl. If I can't have you, baby don't twerk it, baby, like that, no. If I can't have you, hey, what time? Can we get a shout of grandma yet? Now I'm at the bar on my last drink, y'all, and she know I've been checking her out. She know out on the dance floor, doing a thing, yeah. I was hoping I could take her out now. Baby, what's your name? I'm J1. Girl, you know you're looking so damn good, and I wish I could just have you, baby, for tonight, lady. Come on, girl. So, baby, don't move it, baby, like that. If I can't have you, baby, don't shake it, girl, like that, no. If I can't have you, baby, don't do it, darling, like that, no, girl. If I can't have you, talking about? Let me hear you say yeah. Let me hear you say yeah. Now my fellas all around the world, if you feel what I'm talking about, let me hear you say yeah. Let me hear you say yeah. Now ladies, pop it, pop it, pop it, pop it. Now drop it, drop it. Now drop it, drop it. Now pop it, pop it. Now pop it, pop it. Now drop it, drop it. Now drop it. Baby, don't move it, baby, like that. If I can't have you, baby, don't shake it, girl, like that, no. If I can't have you, baby, don't move it, darling, like that, no, girl. If I can't have you, baby, don't twerk it, baby, like that, no. If I can't have you.
That's what the story is.
Richard M. Nixon has lied repeatedly.
No reporter from the Washington Post should ever be in the White House again. You understand? I'm going to kick their ass. If people looking at me say that's a new Nixon, then all that I can say is, well, maybe you didn't know the old Nixon.
STMK Radio 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 with your host, Shawn L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
One gunman opened fire at two different mosques in New Zealand on Friday. Witnesses told local media a man dressed in a camouflage outfit and carrying an automatic rifle started shooting people at random at the Al Noor Mosque in the city of Christchurch. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said one suspect is in custody, but that others could be involved.
Many of those who will have been directly affected by this shooting may be migrants to New Zealand. They may even be refugees here. They have chosen to make New Zealand their home, and it is their home. They are us. The person who has perpetuated this violence against us is not. They have no place in New Zealand. There is no place in New Zealand for such acts of extreme and unprecedented violence, which it is clear this act was.
One witness said he'd seen several victims.
I saw one gun in the floor, and police was stopping here. There was a lot of people die, injured.
Police have been deployed across Christchurch and have advised people to stay away from mosques. schools and council buildings have been placed into lockdown.
This month, more than 76,000 illegal migrants arrived at our border. We're on track for 1 million illegal aliens. People hate the word invasion, but that's what it is. It's an invasion of drugs and criminals and people. We have no idea who they are, but we capture them because border security is so good.
And worst of all, he called migrants again invaders. He said, we're going to talk about New Zealand. The alleged shooter in New Zealand referred to immigrants as invaders. For the president to use that language only a few hours later after 49 Muslims are dead is disgusting. It's inexcusable. I would say shameful, but he clearly has no shame to talk about invaders again.
The invaders, I mean, isn't that unbelievable? People are fleeing. Whatever you think about it, what the right way to process people, which is complicated. You can't just let everyone in automatically, but to call them invaders, really?
Well, and the other thing is just the idea that, as was pointed out, the idea that so soon after a horrific attack carried out in the name of bigotry, hatred, xenophobia, Islamophobia, the president is using very stark language, painting individuals coming from Central America as if every one of them is a member of MS-13.
Absolutely. Look, words matter. The president's words absolutely matter. And I was on a panel this past weekend at South by Southwest, and we were talking about the toxicity of the internet and how this very inflammatory language is spilling out. And someone noted, well, maybe we shouldn't just pay it any attention. But when you let things like this fester, you are whipping up the nastiest and most terrible of things inside people that sometimes galvanize them to act. And so that's why it matters if Donald Trump calls folks invaders and criminals and tries to paint people as the other. Because people have been galvanized to act by this type of language, and it's continuing to happen.
Today, white nationalism is a rising threat around the world. I don't really. I think it's a small group of people that have very, very serious problems. I guess if you look at what happened in New Zealand, perhaps that's the case. I don't know enough about it yet. They're just learning about the person and the people involved. But it's certainly a terrible thing, Yeah.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100. I'm your host, Shawn on a Free Fall Thursday. In studio tonight, we got Tone the Stone. What's up, Tone?
What up, Shawn? What up, Stop the Madness, everybody out there?
Hey, and we got J Mac from the shop, and I know he got some gossip.
Hello. How everybody doing?
Jay, pull into your mic just a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
there you go. There you go.
Here we go. How everybody doing out there?
Hey, so much is going on. So much is going on between the shootings in New Zealand, Paul Manafort being sentenced. We got the Manafort report looking for it. We got so much crime taking place in the city of Cleveland and Atlanta we got going on. R. Kelly got a new charge out of Pennsylvania. This is just really happening. But once again, President Donald Trump is having a troubled time calling out far right-wing white nationalists. His response to the shooting in New Zealand, where 49 people died in an attack on 2 mosques, is also raising fresh questions about the attitude toward Islam and white extremists. As we already know, if Muslims do something, a Muslim get killed, the president and his rhetoric will not go to that level of condemning it. But always when he's asked about white nationalists, as he was asked about David Duke, he claimed not to know David Duke. And today, on the telephone from the ATL, is the professor himself, Prince is going to bring us in and put down some new information. Prince, what's happening with you?
Shawn L, how you doing? How you doing, everybody? Is there Tone up there?
What's going on, Prince? Yeah, that's
you are in studio with the panel.
I tell you, I can't wait to get back into the Cleveland, guys. This is buck wild crazy.
Can't wait to have you back.
Well, I'm looking forward to come back. God's will. I tell you, this white supremacy shooting in New Zealand, but the most shocking thing about this is the fact that the government of New Zealand, in 6 days' time, they have banned assault weapons in their country. In 6 days. That's going to send a shocking message to Americans here in the United States. Shocking message.
Well, that lets you know that there is people who care about gun control. Okay, and that lets you know countries are taking it serious when you have a man with an AK-47 that walks into 2 places of worship and kill 49 people. There's a problem. And the United States is a gun culture. But Prince, tell us what you think is going on right now.
Well, it's a lot of undercurrents and stuff. With the recent ruling by that the appeals court there in regards to the Sandy Hook shooting. Now that the Remington Company and their marketing people at Bushmaster, they can be sued now for marketing. And it takes me back to John Grisham's novel, Runaway Jury. I hope a lot of you guys are familiar with that out there. But this is going to be interesting. But the shooting in New Zealand takes me back to 2015, which we all know the Emmanuel 9. And I want to share something in regards to the climate now, in regards to the shooting that recently took place in New Zealand and the one that took place in South Carolina.
Go ahead.
This is Time Magazine article. It came out in November 23rd. I just want to read something to our listeners out there, everybody, called Murder, Race, and Mercy. And I read from page 44. That day was a human day in June, where Myra Anthony reviewed her Bible study plans. Plans for this what seemed like the 100th time she says, a perfectionist. That's the word. Everything was just so in the Thompson house, spotless. Gleaming, Myra, too, was radiant that day. She had this glow about her. I don't know how else to put it, he says. She was glowing, and I wanted to reach out and touch her. But for some reason, I just could not. I could not make myself reach out to her, he tells this calmly, but with intensity. After that frozen moment, Anthony had something to do in another room in the house. When Myra called out that it was time for her to leave for church, he shouted back to her, "Wait, hold on, I'll be right there." But before he could return, Anthony heard the door close, and she was gone. From a report by Detective Eric Tuttle of the Charleston Police Department, I arrived at the incident location at 110 Calhoun Street at about 21:40 hours. I did observe a black male running towards the church as a patrolman tried to intervene. I tried to speak with the gentleman who said that his wife, Myra Thompson, was located inside of the church. I advised him that he would not be able to enter the church at this time, that the situation was very fluid. This scene does not figure in Anthony's account of that day, though he speaks of June 17th at length while his crab cake sits untouched on the plate in front of him. He doesn't mention his frantic dash up Calhoun Street through the jam of police cruisers with the lights flashing, or the cop hurrying over to stop him, or the detective blocking his path and saying something about a very fluid situation. He does not mention the fear, the anguish, the shock. Perhaps he would have talked about these things for months ago when the sun was coming down thick and sweaty over Charleston, and that day was still a jagged wound. But the air is soft with the melancholy of autumn now. The pain is more of a vice and less of a dagger, and what he chooses to remember, if memory even a choice, is Myra
Pull closer
radiant,
to your mic.
is Myra radiant just because it's helpless reach and the door closing. Myra Thompson and 8 others were murdered during their Wednesday Bible study at Mother Emanuel AME Church in the center of Charleston, South Carolina. But you probably know that already because the man-made catastrophe in Emanuel is among the most sorrowful and powerful stories in recent memories. At a time when the violent deaths of African Americans were triggering protests, even rioting from Missouri to Maryland, and a national movement sprang up to proclaim that Black Lives Matter, here was a cold-blooded attack by an avowed white supremacist intending to provoke a race war in the heart of the old Confederacy. But instead of war, Charleston erupted in grace, led by survivors of the Emanuel 9. It happened suddenly, but not every survivor was on board. For some, it was too soon. For others, too simple. Even so, within 36 hours of the killings, and with the pain racking their voices, family members stood in a small country courtroom to speak the language of forgiveness. The brief televised hearing electrified the country. President Obama was swept up by the feeling during his eulogy for slain Emmanuel pastor Reverend Clementa Pinckney, and shifted into the song Amazing Grace, How Sweet the Sound. Blacks and whites filled the miles-long ravine bridge in a show of unity, and within the days, the most contentious public symbol, our South Carolina Civil War past, the Confederate battle flag, was removed from the state capitol grounds with relatively little of the controversy that has surrounded it for decades. How many years ago was that? And we still haven't got any type of gun movement in regards to a large scale like New Zealand.
Well, you have to look at this, and I'm going to say this, is that since Sandy Hook, we had Columbine, we haven't had any gun control or anything on it. And you have to look at this with white supremacists and hate crimes has been reported gone up 30% by the FBI. So everybody has to understand that since Trump was elected into the presidency, hate crime has jumped up 30%. Going into our communities, and we have to really look at this because it's not just Muslims. Today in Massachusetts, somebody went into a graveyard and defaced about 100 different graves, and then you have synagogues and stuff.
And gravestones were turned over here down in Atlanta. I mean, in Georgia recently. Just overnight here in Georgia.
So when you look at what's going on right there, and you have all these crimes being taken, and the president and the Department of Justice not actually going on that, we have to understand what's going on there.
I agree. But Shawn and Tone and for all everybody out there, I'm scared. I'm scared for those who will come behind me, and I won't be here in that sense right there, but it's now, it's a troubled time, and I've said this on many broadcasts.
Well,
this thing with, go ahead, go please.
No, I thought you were finished. I was just going to say, that's exactly what they want. They want you to be scared. They want us to be scared.
Exactly.
Prince. So we can't be scared. I'm not saying that it's not a problem to worry about, but it's, what's going on now is pales in comparison to, the era right here in America where people were getting strung up on trees probably on a daily basis.
But really, is it really?
Yeah, it pales in comparison because it doesn't.
Professor, do you have your are you listening to us?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay, turn your radio back a little bit because we're getting the feedback off of your radio.
I don't have radio on them, but with me.
Okay, that's fine. Just go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, so I mean, if you compare it to that time in history, if you compare, I mean, this is just my personal philosophy. If you compare today, this day and age, to any time in history, going back thousands of years, way less violent. But of course, that's not to diminish or to belittle these occurrences. Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad shame, and we have to address them, and we have to figure out a way to deal with these sort of people and eradicate this sort of ideology in people. But it's not going to happen anytime soon.
And you know what? I'd like to say something else. Like, a friend of mine said a few months back, talking about Trump, and since he's been elected, how this is some of the worst racist times. I said, are you for real? We could, by you commenting that back in the day, you can get strung up.
Well, this individual, Tom, who was this individual? I mean, you ain't got no name or anything, but was there a scholarly figure? Was there somebody who's walk on water or somebody? What?
But if you look at this, I want to say this,
I mean, it's
Professor.
been worse times though. I mean, just
Right.
like
Well, we have.
I got you. You right.
Well, hold on for a minute because we're getting a lot of feedback. But Professor, because we may lose you in a minute because we have a storm coming up into our section. Tell us about what can we expect out of the Mueller report.
That's a loaded question. I think that what you can expect, that it will be made public. And I think that eventually, I think Robert Mueller will have to will go in front of Congress. He's a straight shooter. There's no way he's going to let this report, what he's done, let it not see the light of day. It will see the light of day. They can scrub it, they can talk this and everything, but it will see the light of day.
Hey.
Just as much as a lot of us got a chance to see a black president, we'll see that report.
And before we let you go, Stacey Abrams and Biden.
Joe Biden.
What you think about that?
I think it's not good right now. All the talking heads are against it, which they can talk what they want to do. But I think Mrs. Abrams need to if she couldn't get past Kemp down here in Georgia, and they still got some political fights going on down here. I think her interest and for the people, it would be best served if she stayed here in Georgia and fight the good fight here and try to remove Senator David Perdue. And I've got a name for our man down there in Texas. What's this guy's name? I can't think. He jumped on top of the tables and everything.
Oh, Bert.
What's his name?
Oh, you talking about the white
the skinny guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to make him a hero. They won't make him a hero, but I can't think of his name.
Beto O'Rourke.
Beto O'Rourke.
That's it, Beto O'Rourke. You see how important he was to me? I couldn't even remember his name. I'm going to go, but Beto O'Rourke reminds me. Wait, I'll give him a name. His name is Oatmeal Man. That's his name. He's Oatmeal Man. You can put in, think about it with kids. You can eat oatmeal, and you can put all kind of stuff in it, nuts, berries, whatever you get. In our case, we just had to put some water in it back in the day. But this guy's Oatmeal Man.
Well,
you can pour everything into him, and nothing's coming out.
Well, Professor, we're gonna get you back with us right now. We got a storm coming up, and your call is cutting in and out on the audio, and so we're gonna try to work that out when we get you back, and then we get back with you. Okay?
Okay. Well, you blame it on the Cloud Act. You know, Trump signing the law, the Cloud Act.
Hey, thank you for being with us. Hey, that's the professor out of the ATL. Really, what I want to say there that we was getting into the thing about what Trump. Tone said, Tone, I agree with you to the extent, but when you look at the ratio of the horde is coming down. New Zealand, 49 people, Pittsburgh, 25. The nightclub in Florida. Is it really not that bad? Or I know when we look at the compares, but when you had mass streamers out there hanging people and the night riders coming in the early 1700s. But on that same level, if we don't show some type of resistance there and come out against that, that is the problem. Everybody's being silent right here. Like with Trump, all our morals has been set to the side. Our rights has been turned upside down where nobody want to speak to any wrong because he's putting Supreme Court judges in there to force us to live by other people's rules. Okay, so everybody has to look at this. He's stacking the court. You look at what's going on now with them cutting budgets for communities and cities not having the money. Well, not even education, but what they're talking about, child services. With the big case that just happened with the young lady that got the kid that got killed in Euclid. Okay, I mean. Are we putting too much on our government and the community cutting taxes to where they can't handle it? Because we're going to do a show on that with Father's Life, Joe Jones from Father's Life Matters, and some people from the county. We're going to do a show about 2 weeks after we come back from our Easter vacation on that issue alone, but not just to go into that with everything that's happening in our communities and everything that's happening right now. Where do we draw the line at?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, where can you draw the line at?
Who was willing to get their hands dirty?
Where can you draw the line at? To answer your question,
who was willing to get their hands dirty? Who was willing to get out there and fight? Not so much physically fight.
Well, it's going to take.
We got to stand up.
Yeah,
That's
to your
just
point,
real.
Jay. That's what I'm getting at. Like, where can you draw the line? You can take a stance all day, but to answer your question about are we putting too much burden on our government? I don't know if the answer to that is yes or no, but that's where the issue lies. The issue
What the
lies
adjustment of that? Yes.
in government reform, because everybody can point the finger at Trump and say he's encouraging this, or he's instigating this, or he's helping fuel these things that are going on. But any one man that's in office is always going to have a bunch of fingers pointed at him when something doesn't go
But
somebody's
I
way.
look at it as a whole, because when I say are we putting too much faith in our government, I don't mean by us voting or picking
Yeah, I want to
elected
know, what do you
officials.
mean by that?
What I mean by the community not taking care of their responsibility. Like if you go back to Ronald Reagan era, the reason that we have mental people walking the streets homeless right now is because Ronald Reagan cut the Health Act, okay, and closed all the mental hospitals. And he put the burdens on the states, okay. Well, the state couldn't afford it, so they put the burdens back to the city. Well, the city couldn't afford it, so they started closing hospitals like CPI and all that. And these people had no place to go. Talking about the case of the young lady, the young girl that got killed in Euclid, and her mother just got sentenced to a life sentence
She did get life.
today. Okay,
Oh,
when you
today.
look at when you look at this, is it our caseworkers' fault? Because I talk with caseworkers and unions for caseworkers. When you working shorthanded, stealing from Peter to pay Paul, and you giving them 200-300 caseloads, okay, and then the law is written in a way that they can't actually take no action, is it their fault that people falling through the cracks? Okay, and I look at the activists coming back, and I understand the activists going at the county and CS and the child services and stuff like this. But let's look at this on this way. One administrator told me that they closed all the foster homes. Okay, and then talking to lawyers, you have to ask this question: if this person is that messed up, okay, and they won't take the kid from her to give to the father or the family, what that say about the family and the structure that the father's under, okay? And I'm gonna ask the activist that question. The second question I want to know is,
I don't think any activist can answer that question,
well,
because
I'm just
it's
saying,
all specific to any
but I'm just saying,
particular
but I'm
situation.
just saying, if you're going to come at a entity, you have to also look on the other side. Just like I was talking about on the panel that we were on. When you talk about police reform, you just can't talk about police reform. You got to talk about reform within the community. What is causing the violence incidents that police officers and these young black males are coming into? Remember that a black police sergeant said something at the table that really, I shouldn't have said it the way I said it, but remember he said that the young black men was telling him that they wasn't going to call the police and that they had guns and they was going to take care of themselves. My problem with that incident is that as him being the president of the Black Shield Police Association, those are the same young black males that his officers are dealing with on the street, okay? So how can you not address that issue but turn around and talk about police reform, okay? You got a high number of incidents of police officers being assaulted. Okay, now nobody has respect for that. Now you have a high number of young black males being incarcerated, and they're being incarcerated on a bigger level now than before. So I mean, you have to address all that. And when it comes to the county, like I said with the child services, when you look at this thing, if we overburden the system and we're not trying to give the system something to work with, then that's going to cause a problem of people falling through the cracks. Because I looked at one lawyer and he told me this, and I want to ask this question to both of y'all. Why are we trying to put the burden on child services to take a child from an unfit mother or unfit family when the family should be going to family court in front of a judge and make a judge order that child to be removed from that family, or put a caseworker or somebody there to see if this child should be removed and taken into state custody?
I don't really know the answer to that. My guess would be that the judges are already overwhelmed with the caseload that they got coming through.
I agree with that too, but the thing when I got into that conversation with the lawyers, okay, I'm going to agree with you that the whole system is overburdened. This is what I'm saying. We putting too much faith in our government system to do things maybe that we should sit back and do as a community.
Back to family values.
Right, family values.
Instead of going to court, I'm coming to get this child.
Right, right. And you have to look at this too.
Well, that's easy to say, but you can't expect everybody to have your same values.
Right, right.
So.
Well, I agree with that. This is a question for the community. This is a question for the activists. This is a question.
Values is values. It's not about if it's a value, it's a value. It's not about my value or your value.
But Jay, if people had them, we wouldn't be having this conversation. If everybody had those same values,
but you know what,
we wouldn't be having this conversation.
But you know what, Tom? I think we do have all the same values, but I think the problem is that we don't want to call out, as the activist said on the panel we was on, we don't want to shame our community and call it out.
Our community, that's the thing about our community is getting shamed, man.
Well, I agree with that, but I think
we jokes, man.
But I think this
is the black community is a joke, man.
You speak for yourself. I don't feel that
way. I agree with him. I agree with him. I agree with him.
I'm in the black community.
I don't feel like that.
I'm saying if you live outside the black community and you look at the media and what's going on, you look at it as a
because
joke.
you're being fair with the belief. You're being fair with the thing.
No, for certain things are true. Certain things are true. You can't feed lies. I mean, you can feed lies,
like
but if it's not happening,
what's true, Jay?
But look at what Malcolm X said. But look at what Malcolm X said. Let's go. Hold on.
Yeah, come on. Are you
go ahead, Jay.
Tell me. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, our young men are not stepping up to the plate. I used to be the same person, so I'm not gonna sit here and point a finger like I never done anything. I used to be out here in these streets.
Mm-hmm.
We out here in these streets cutting the fool, man.
Okay. So they going through the same thing you went to. What's maybe give them time to grow, give them time to mature, give them time to learn to be better, to develop values.
But see, what I'm saying, but you know what, Tom? But it's like they don't want, they have nothing to look forward to.
But let me ask this question.
You can't say that about all black.
But let me ask you this question.
No. I'm talking about. Listen, I'm in the barbershop, so I'm seeing these young black men coming on some BS. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing, we was talking last week about how there's not, I mean, I'm in the black community and nothing is owned by blacks. You know what I'm saying?
I see a lot of black-owned businesses as I travel throughout the city.
I don't see a lot. No, I see black.
Few.
I do. Very few. It's a difference between a lot and very few.
But there's a difference between a black-owned business that is actually supporting the community versus a black-owned mom and pop store that just barely making it.
Yeah, but that's the first. Before they can support the community, they got to support themselves. So okay,
I agree. But see, it comes back. Well, it comes back.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay. I mean, I get what y'all saying. Yeah, of course, there's always going to be some people, a bunch of people that need attention, special care. That's why it's called special attention and special needs. But you can't point the finger and say, I mean, I would never say I'm ashamed of the black community.
Well,
that's just me personally.
I didn't say that.
That sounded like what you said to me.
No. First of all, repeat what I said. Don't say it sounded like.
You said you was ashamed. You said you embarrassed by the black community.
I'm embarrassed, yeah, because like sometimes we embarrass ourselves, man.
People embarrass themselves of all race, colors, and creeds.
And first of all, what I did is I pointed out me. I've embarrassed myself. Some of my behavior back in the day.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to sit here and point the finger. I'm going to point it at me first. I can't get anybody together.
That's all I
have
said.
myself to get together. If I can't get myself together. For real.
But
I help anybody, I have to help myself.
But Jay, you have to look at this also. And Tony Stone, you have to be realistic about this also, is that our community with young men, okay, as Jay said, they're out there and they're messing up. We have to go into a situation that we can't wait for them to get themselves together.
It's not so much that they mess it
up.
No,
forget the
people accountable.
Wait a minute. Forget the system. Forget accountability. Because if he's out here breaking in my house and he's hitting my mother in the head with a baseball bat, I don't care about that.
Okay.
He has, wait a minute, listen to me. He has to be dealt with and taken from the community.
Okay.
Okay, so when we look at this.
Who disagrees with that?
Okay, right. So this is what we have to look at.
And it doesn't matter if he's black, white, Hispanic, or whatever.
I don't care what color he is.
Okay, so what does it have to do with the black community?
But because it's happening more in the black community.
No, it's not.
Tony, listen,
No, it's
it
not.
is. It's happening more in the black community and more with black kids. Even in the white community, the people that's being carjacked by young black kids. So we can't push it back that our black brothers and sisters are not doing it. Yes, they're doing it, and we have to address it. Yes, there are crime in the black community. We can't walk down our streets at night. We can't leave our house at night. There's no white people in our community robbing, stealing, and killing. Okay, so we have to address that. We can't keep saying no, it's not happening. We can't keep saying we're not the only one. Yes, it's not the only community that's doing it, because when you go into Texas, you got the Latinos. When you go into LA, you got blacks, you got Mexicans.
Well, no,
okay.
where I work at, the barbershop's there. It's the whites.
Wait, in the white community you have whites.
It's not a white community. It's half black. It's a mixed community. I mean, Euclid.
Right. Okay, but
I'm saying you have a
when
lot of whites on these opiates.
Right, but what I'm saying, when you're in a community and it's mixed, see, this is the problem that everybody has to understand. If you're in a suburb, your suburb's mixed, so your crime is going to be mixed.
Okay,
yes,
let's go there.
Yes, it's going to be white people that's going to commit crimes. Okay, and it's going to be white people that's on drugs, and yes, it's going to be more prevalent. So that means that community has to deal with both the white and the blacks who's there committing their crimes. Okay, the difference is that as a community as a whole, I'm not talking about Euclid, South Euclid, because Euclid and South Euclid, Wycliffe, North Homestead, Rocky River, they're dealing with their crime problem. Okay, and they're putting more police officers on the streets, and they're out there dealing with that. Okay, the city of Cleveland, which is a predominantly black city, 350-some thousand people in our city, we're not dealing with the problem at hand. Okay, we'll deal when a police officer shoots somebody. Okay, everybody's out in hands. We'll burn our city down. Everybody's out in hands.
But are they trying to prevent crime or just reacting to
well,
crime?
Well, I'm not. I don't care about the police, because guess what? The police officers are dealing with individuals that's out there in the streets, and we should be dealing with those individuals before they out there in the street.
Are we willing to get our hands dirty?
Right. So education,
to go out for real. I mean, that's what
education.
Let's go back to that.
Jobs.
Because if you don't have no education, and you have a family, you need to make money. What you gonna do?
You gonna rob and steal.
Not always. Are you gonna sell drugs?
But you're gonna do anything you can do to survive. See, when we look at survival, see, this is the thing, Jay. When you look at survival, okay, and we start looking at this on that level, when we address that problem, and I said this before on the panel, what is the underlying causing the problems in our community?
You keep saying rob and steal, but one thing, it's an open market. People use drugs. People want to self-medicate.
Right, but
hold on, it's an open market.
But most drug addicts are not out here pulling guns on people, killing people.
I'm not talking
Our
about
gun violence isn't. It may be because of the drug culture, but it's not the druggies or the people who want the drugs.
No, I'm talking about the drug sellers.
But they're not. Drug sellers are not really out here killing people like they were in the 80s.
So can I stop both of you for a second and get a reminder of what exactly we're talking about here?
Well, we're talking about crime,
period,
violence in our community, and if we overburden our government, see, Tony.
So y'all want crime to vanish, disappear off the face of the earth?
That's not what I'm saying, Tone. What I'm saying is, are we over?
What are y'all talking about?
I'm trying to tell you, are we over?
I heard everything you said.
Overburdening our government system to deal with our problems?
The government's overburdening itself.
And
if it did the right thing,
we were saying about the Italians.
Right, but see,
Tone,
govern
their own hood.
But see, Tone,
we don't do that no more.
Yeah, I said that last week on the show.
Exactly. But like, that's what I'm saying. Are we willing?
But once again, speak for yourself, because I do know neighborhoods. I do know pockets of neighborhoods in our city that are riddled with gang crime, gang and drug crime, where there is order. Okay, not all of them are like that,
Okay.
and not all of the young men are in check like that. But there are pockets that are like that.
Okay.
You know, you got to take what you can get.
I mean, when I first moved out of my mother's house, my first place ever, I used to live, may he rest his peace, Mr. Brown. And Mr. Brown held it down. He was in his 70s. He wanted to work with the black boys. He used to tell me, and I was young, like, I used to be, me and my friends would be on the porch, put that beer in the cup.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Cut your grass, do certain stuff.
That's what I'm talking about, Jay.
We don't have that no more.
That's what I'm talking
People
about.
don't want to get involved.
See, because
he used to get his hands
if we wait for the police to police our
it ain't
community,
even about getting your hands dirty. It's about having the respect of those young men. And I don't
It's about
always mean
instilling
working
them.
with them. That means talking to
always-
them and getting on their level, talking to them on their level and making them understand what you the point you're trying to drive home. If they feel like you talking down to them, like you don't have no respect for them, like you think they ain't are pieces of shit, then no, they're not gonna vibe with you. They're not gonna feel what you saying to them.
Hold on, first of all,
if they feel like you think if you're talking down on them, you lost already.
Here we go. You know what? Here you go. Because
but do they get the rule?
No. When you go back to different values, I give you that because I was raised differently. Had people in my perspective, who that man think he talking to? Like, no, he's right. He's right. That's our elder.
But let me ask you this question.
I was raised that.
Just because you my elder don't look. If I'm already coming from a fucked up situation, Jay, I don't have no respect for nobody just because my life has been fucked up since the day I was born. I don't care if you my elder. You're gonna have to make me respect you.
See, that's why the community have to deal with you. Because this is the way
you can't deal if all the young men are like that. You can't deal with them.
We can't deal with them because this is the problem.
That's why we having the problem now because they can't deal with them.
This is the problem we having because nobody won't deal with them
because they not talking to them. They're not coming at them from a respectful position.
Wait a minute. What I'm saying is this:
they're coming at them at they're already thugs. They're already animals. They're already losers. That's how they come at them.
I understand
so that's what they're gonna get.
I understand that,
but you don't do that to the judge.
But this is
we don't have no choice.
This is the problem.
Some of them do. Some of them do get in front of the judge and say, "Fuck you. Give me what you got."
Right, and they got to get what they get.
Exactly.
Because this is the problem, Tone. I don't care if you underprivileged. I don't care if you not eating. Okay.
You should care, though.
I don't.
That's where all their problems stem from.
Listen to what I'm trying to tell you. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying.
But you're supposed to carry yourself.
I care about the community. But when it comes to you hitting that old lady upside the head,
that's unacceptable. Okay, I get that. I understand. That's not what we're talking about.
But we have to. But this is the problem because when the community makes it to where the police have to deal with that, and then the community doesn't hold the elected officials accountable or put the money into the police force to hire more police officers, to hire more rec centers, to hire more counselors, to put the money where it's supposed to be. That's what's putting the burden on our government and our communities.
The government putting the burden on themselves.
But the government can't put the burden on themselves, Tony. But no, they can't because you are the taxpayer. The government works for you. You're the taxpayer. Okay, this is what, and I'm not meaning you personally, but I'm talking about you, me, all the people coming back down. That's why what happens in our community, okay, is that all the working people leave our community, okay, and go out to the suburbs.
I ain't got time for this. I ain't got to be
okay,
with this.
And it creates a bigger problem because what they fail to realize is when the suburb goes, okay, when the inner city goes, the suburb goes. Okay, just like right now, we've just posted a thing on STMK Radio 100's Facebook page. Okay, and to bring us right into the mode, we have the biggest gentrification in history in inner cities going on across the United States. Classic example when you start reading this article that it comes to is the city of East Cleveland. How they letting it go down so far, so crime-ridden, so bad that everybody runs out of that area. They come back, take the land for nothing, and build it back up, okay, and take it over. So
who's to say that's not by design?
Well, it is by design. That's what That's what I'm saying. It's by design. And this is what I'm talking about when the community does not take their place and their responsibility.
See, but what you just said is a contradiction. If it's by design, then the community, it's really nothing they can do about it.
The community
There's
can't.
nothing
No,
they can do
Tone,
about
the
it.
community can't stand up.
If all the services and all of the aid, all of the government assistance, if it's strategically denied them and they're put into the worst possible human living conditions.
Just everybody hold that thought right there for just 1 minute. They're flashing us, and let's go to the Blue Room with Tuck. It's gonna be there with Repairman.
You're listening to STMK Radio 100.
Oh, baby. Cigar check. Coverall check. Got my tool belt. Yes. Ah. Oh, wait. I can't get enough. I'm your repairman. Girl, I got what you're looking for. Oh, have you ever had a repairman like me to get you what you need? Baby, I'm like calling 911 in case of an emergency. I can give you everything you need. Just try me. Dial 1-800. I'm the man, yeah. And I'll be there to do all I can, yeah. If your man don't wanna get it on, and you're tired of always sitting on the phone, baby, take me home. Baby, take me home. Girl, I can't do you wrong. Baby, take me home. If you're tired of doing all that you can, and you just want a little helping hand, baby, here I am. Baby, here I am. I'll be your repairman. I'll be your repairman. Oh, see, I never thought in a million years, girl, that I'd get you next to me like this. Got my cover all in a bundle, and I just don't know which way to go. I wanna love you all night like this. Signed, sealed, and delivered with a key. If your man don't wanna get it on, and you're tired of always sitting on the phone, baby, take me home. Baby, take me home. Girl, I can't do you wrong. Baby, take me home.
Radio News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Trump was asked about the insulting tweets over the weekend about the late Senator John McCain. He says it's over McCain's vote change on the Affordable Care Act.
I think that's disgraceful. Plus, there are other things.
John McCain died of brain cancer last August. At the White House today, the president said he was never a fan of John McCain and never will be.
Our country would have saved $1 trillion and we would have had great health care. So he campaigned. He told us hours before that he was going to repeal and replace. And then for some reason, I think I understand the reason, he ended up going thumbs up.
The president has been meeting with the president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro. They talked about options to deal with the political crisis in Venezuela.
But we really haven't done the really tough sanctions yet. We can do the tough sanctions, and all options are open, so we may be doing that. But we haven't done the toughest of sanctions, as you know. We've done, I would say, right down the middle.
The president says the United States is not looking for anything other than taking care of a lot of people. Documents were released from the FBI raid of former Trump personal attorney Michael Cohen's home and office in New York last year. More from the AP's Warren Levinson.
Cohen's lawyer, Lanny Davis, says the release of the search warrants enhances Cohen's interest in cooperating with law enforcement. The release indicates prosecutors started investigating the former Trump fixer barely 6 months into his presidency.
Cohen was ultimately not charged with failing to register as a foreign agent. Prosecutors in Florida are offering a plea deal to New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft and other men charged with paying for sex at a massage parlor. As part of the deal, the men must concede that they would be found guilty. Marilyn Hartman, a woman who was dubbed the serial stowaway, was sentenced to 18 months probation after pleading guilty to sneaking past Chicago airport security last year, boarding a plane, and then flying to London without a ticket. This is AP Radio News. There could be a new record for the biggest contract in baseball.
Move over, Bryce Harper. A person familiar with the negotiations tells the AP that Mike Trout and the Los Angeles Angels are close to finalizing a 12-year deal worth $432 million. That would shatter the record for the largest deal in North American sports history. Not only would Trout's deal top the 12-year contract between Harper and the Phillies worth $330 million, Trout's $3 million average annual value would surpass Zach Greinke's $34.4 million in a 6-year deal with Arizona. I'm Shelley Adler.
The NCAA had a long-time ban on bringing championships to places where sports wagers were legal. That was suspended last year in wake of the Supreme Court decision to end an effective monopoly for Nevada. 3 women's tournament games will be played this weekend in Mississippi, where people have been betting on college sports since last summer. I'm Ed Donahue, AP Radio News.
The circumstances of your life may feel like random chance or luck, but in his new book, Pathways, Dr. Tony Evans says, even if that's how it feels, that's not how it is.
I know the score may be against you, but I know a quarterback who can turn defeat into victory. I know if you just let him have your life, he can throw a touchdown with your existence.
Pathways will help you recognize God's fingerprints on everything that comes your way.
He's operating behind the scenes, even using bad, evil people and situations to move things forward in order to accomplish his will.
Learn to face life with the confidence of knowing that what seem like the random pieces of your life are really part of God's plan for such a time as this.
He's doing something bigger than you can see. You need to trust him where you are.
Pathways, From Providence to Purpose. Brand new from Dr. Tony Evans.
Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Shawn L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness. Keep it 100.
STMK Radio 100.
Pull up in that mother big body. I'm trying to have some cuties sitting right beside me. Hit up my homie Swing. After party shawty. They don't know I put it down. Better ask somebody about me. 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 Pull up in the front, pull up in the back. Jump out that coupe, baby girl, know I'm fresher than X. Hey to relax, fall back, boy, I'm stating the facts. Better stomp that yard before you ever try to step to this cat. Yeah, wanna ride for the team, she like hell yeah. I'm a fresh prince, someone pour me a glass of that bad left. I'm feeling like Shaq, cause I just want my touches. Look at that thing, setting up like crunches. Oh, I don't really care if you knocking my style, you jocking me now and blocking this foul. All I can do is just smile, feeling like Chris Brown, look at me now. Shout out to the fam, cause they believe in me. If you tryna stunt, I'ma be disrespectful, no Stephen A. Pull up in that mother big body. I'm tryna have some cuties sitting right beside me. Hit up my homie Swing. After party shawty. They don't know I put it down. Better ask somebody about me. 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 Yeah, I walk in, I'ma get that. Don't ask if I hit that. I'm just trying to get racks. My team, we gon' split that. Bring it to me in a gift wrap. Girl, come sit in this lap. I break you off, Kit Kat. Kit Kat. Tell me what it is, tell me when to come. I know you see the kid, girl, don't get sprung. You don't gotta ask when we hear them drums. I told my fam to just hang on. Y'all understand where I came from? Riding through my city, I'm bumping that bro. Got two freaks with me, wanna jump on that pole. I don't do them grills, but I do a bocce. Been in this game for so damn long, I feel like in the Atari. Oh, pull up in that mother big body. I'm trying to have some cuties sitting right beside me. Hit up my homie Swing. After party shawty. They don't know I put it down. Better ask somebody about me. 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 Ask somebody about me.
You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Shawn L., Let, and Tone the Stone.
So, the difference, you know, a lot of American men tend to go to DR.
Yeah.
And you know why.
Right.
Why can't they just come here to the Bronx and meet a Dominican woman? Isn't it easier to just be here in New York?
It's not, because here in New York, you have the abilities to get things that you want. Over there, you see an American guy coming to visit, and you're like, oh my God, God is on earth. Because of the fact that an American man, quote unquote, can give you anything. fulfill your dreams as a Dominican woman.
Right.
But that's just like their way. Like they use their race and their culture to get to Dominican women because they're seen as I can and I am the word of the Americans. So that's why
that's why the Americans is a big deal out there.
Yes, and that's why Dominican women, when they hear about an American guy, they go all crazy. Like,
but when they're here, it doesn't apply.
It doesn't because I'm already here. This is a country of opportunities. Like whoever doesn't get to where they want to here, either because of economics or whatever is going on in their lives, that's on them. Because honestly, you can achieve anything.
Hey, welcome back to Free Fall Thursday. Hey, we having a thunderstorm here in the city of Cleveland and re-racking us and throwing us off. Tone the Stone and J Mac, before we got powered down and kicked off the air, what I want everybody to understand and what we was talking about earlier, there's a lot of reasons why things happen in our community, okay? And there's a lot of reasons why our kids are out here out of control. There's a lot of reasons why we have the crime we have. But the problem is when the community overburdens the government and put everything on the government, like the police department. The police officers are overworked, understaffed, okay? And they have problems within themselves, okay? And all the resources are taken out of our community. Even when you look at, yes, there's a lot of black people that have made strides, and yes, there's a lot of black millionaires, look at LeBron James, a lot of black football players and everything else, but they have left the community, okay? That means the resources are not here. We're not putting our thing into education. We're not putting our thing into the family values. We're not putting everything into the church. There's so many problems. We can reach back 100 things, but what we have to understand is that we must deal with the people who are in our community causing mayhem, okay? We can't turn a blind eye to that. But I wanted to re-rack that just on that statement because we got kicked off. We're going to talk about this some more. We're bringing some preachers into the studio. And I really want everybody to think of this like when we at the community meetings. Those people are pouring their hearts out to their elected officials that they look forward to protect them, okay? They don't have anybody else, okay? The old lady down the street, she doesn't have anybody but that 911 dispatcher that she can talk to or going to the meeting to the councilman, okay? The councilman is not there with us, okay? The councilman is not there out here walking the streets, okay? So that means that the gang members and the drug addicts have the street, okay? We just have to call it what it is. You don't have that type of problem in suburbs, okay? Because they put more police officers on the street to deal with them people, okay? And they don't care what color you are. They're going to deal with it. And maybe we have to do that. Look at the young girl that just got killed in Euclid, okay? the trial was sitting right there. The case worker dropped the ball. We need to find out why that ball was dropped. Okay, is it because the caseworker got too many cases that she can't handle her cases? Okay, is it because that money was cut and that child was left dry? Okay, look at the prison system, and this is something that's really passionate for you, Tony, and I know it's passionate to you because every time we talk about it. Issue 1, the Cuyahoga County Jail. When Cleveland closed their jail, the county jail was not ready to absorb all those prisoners when they closed the workhouse. Now we got prisoners, low-level offenders, dying in our county jail, okay? But issue 1 was an issue that I just want to bring out, that when they asked the community, and the judges asked the community to pass issue 1, to force the state and the county not to put low-level offenders in the county jail, send them into a hospital. And it put money aside to build the hospital and treatment centers, okay? But the judges and the prison people came out and said, no, don't do this. You're going to have these drug addicts and you're going to have these people selling drugs, the big monsters on the street, killing people, okay? And they didn't do it, okay? Now we got people dying in the county jail and everybody walking around saying, why is people dying in the county jail? Don't put them in the county jail. So we don't put them in the county jail. Where are we going to put them at? You can't have them on the street, okay? So you got to have the facilities. That's what we need to start thinking about, overburdening our government, okay? When you look at that situation right there, Tone?
Yeah, I mean, it's problems. It's problems. Society has problems. Society has ills, and our elected officials are supposed to be the people who have studied and who are prepared to be able to address these issues. And so we have to maintain a faith in them, because I feel like they've been dropping the ball and letting us down forever, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I agree with that with public officials, and I really do. But I want to jump on this right here for Free Fall Thursday. One of the callers called in last week about that, and they was talking to us about American men's going down to South America to find their brides.
That's a hell of a transition.
But you know, I want to bring it back because we on Free Fall. But when you look at this, that young lady from the Dominican Republican really put something out there when she said that they see American mans as gods, okay? And as they're going to...
Why wouldn't you want to go get one if that's how they feel about you?
But no, it's not just there. I know
the
some
problem
people
is
from
this.
Africa.
Right.
Everybody from like America was rich. They thought everything was just lovely over here.
Right, but the problem is this. When you get them back here, and remember, you hear what she said about the States, okay? She said that in the States, when they're here in the States, they don't need you.
Right.
Because they can do everything they had.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
And she said something that was really, really shocking that's going to vibrate across, and something that we talk about all the time, is when she said that anybody here in America that don't make it, they don't make it because they don't want to, okay? And that's something that we have to understand, that all opportunities is not open for everybody here in America, but if we get our educational system, because that's where it starts at with us, education.
But you know what? I feel her. I really, really feel her, because if you see, a lot of us are not knowledgeable of these other countries and what they live, how they live. The average poor person is living real good over here. They would be over, in other countries, not just like black countries, but like white countries also.
Right.
I mean, they come over here, they're like, man, how you not making it over here?
Well, I mean, making it is something way different. Like what do you consider making it? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like
a decent living.
Yeah.
Where you're not hungry.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've never been hungry before in my life. Let's just keep it real.
Let's
go there.
But some people, I mean, so for somebody who comes from a country like that, a third world country or whatever you want to call it, the life we live in, any three of us right now, this is a dream life for them. You know what I'm saying? But for an American, this is not. This is too average. This is too plain. Like they see all the luxury, they see the celebrities and all that stuff, and they want that. Like everybody can't get that. Everybody can't make it.
Right.
Like
everybody's not gonna be LeBron James. We got to stop having LeBron James. Okay. We got to start teaching our kids You can't be LeBron James. You get first of all you might have to be the man to mop the floor. Okay,
Right.
And education. I know in my era.
That's not to say don't try, but
Right.
hey, you know.
But you can try anything
Try.
because in my era, the thing that was pushed from kindergarten all the way up was education, education, education.
That's
and when
true.
you look at the,
Yeah.
when I go back and look at the people that was in school with me, and the people who was pushed, and the people before me that was pushed, they're making it. Okay, my sister was the vice president of a bank. So blacks do make it and move into the locations in the area, and we even when she came on the show and we sit down and talk about it. Okay, you can make it.
My grandparents were poor, and my mother went to Harvard.
Right. So
I'm saying Howard.
Right, but you have to look at the
education,
structure.
on education. You know what I'm
The
saying?
structure, right? It comes back to the structure of the village. It comes back and it ties back into everything that we was talking about earlier. If the community rebuilt the structure of the village to get our kids back into church, get our kids back into the educational program when they're young.
That's gonna stop the men from going to South America to get them a woman.
Well, I don't know, because you know what? When you start looking at going to South America to get a woman because she thinks you're a goddess or because you can do what you want to do, the question is, are you perpetrating your values on her? Okay.
No, he's not perpetrating. First of all, I agree with her. She get over here like, man, why y'all living like this? You know what I'm saying? I'm she's like, why y'all living like this? All these opportunities.
It comes down to the
all these opportunities. No, they're not allowed these opportunities where they come from.
It comes down to the money or the honey. How the phrase go? No money, no honey. You know, the guys over here. Maybe the sad fact of the matter is that in America, and I'm talking about when you. I don't want to put down. I don't want to like sound chauvinistic or anything like that. But the women who are going as far as, let me see. Now I can't really think of a good way to put it, so I'm not going to
say keep it real. Keep it real. How you feel? What you
I'm saying, like, in America, maybe the rich guys get the best crop of women. Maybe, you know what I'm saying. So then a guy feels like he can go to a South American country.
Because
but it can only be rich people going to South America now. How many guys? Wait, how many guys go to South America
for $200?
But how many people go down there?
I know people go to South America, and they're not rich at all. They go down there.
So maybe the regular guys go down to South America to get them a good pot of honey. That's what the point I was trying to make.
But okay, I understand what you're saying, but like
because
being rich doesn't mean you're gonna have the best crop of women.
But this is the
most rich.
Let's look at this
guys,
trend.
When the money go south, the women go south too, though.
But let's look at this trend.
At least when you broke,
so
you know you're getting the woman.
Yeah, but while you got it, you don't have that problem.
Right. So let's look at this trend though, because a lot of American men. Let's look at this trend. Are going to South America. And getting them a bride and bringing the bride back, young or old. They're bringing young girls back too, okay? And a lot of, as Trump has said, a lot of women are being human trafficked up from South America here. But the difference is...
y'all keep saying South America. It's like from all over.
Well, that's the closest.
Well, that's the closest. That's the theme.
That's what I want to keep it clear. It's not just South America.
But I understand that, Jay. But this is the
that
theme.
might be the subject right now, but it's not just South America.
But this is the theme that where one of our callers steered us to was American men's going to South America, getting the Latino girls and bringing them up here as their brides and their women. So that's what we looked into, and that's what we're going at with this segment right here. I know it could be Asian women, okay?
Yes, that's Asian all over the world.
It could be, but the thing of it is it the same thing as they're going to South America for?
Truthfully, you don't even have to leave the country. You could have them sent over here to you.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Right,
exactly.
for your brides.
Mail order brides.
So the thing of it is that when you look at this happening, and it's a long thing that's going on, how do American men supposed to feel about that?
I mean, do whatever you want to do. Like, if that's what you feel like you need to do, like I said, like if a man feels like, if he wants a woman that's not going to give him any headache, if that's what he's looking for, and he feels like, that he has the best shot of getting that sort of women by importing them from another country or going to another country and finding them. That's his prerogative.
Listen.
Hope it works out for him.
When I was locked up over 10 years ago, especially the Muslim men, they said, when I get out of here, I'm going to Africa. A Muslim woman, give me a wife.
Right. Okay.
Because, first of all, they realized a lot of them were locked up. They realized, okay, my wife ain't down how she's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? They in there locked up. My wife out here doing something other. So they want something more submissive.
Right.
American
right.
women.
True.
That's you got women.
Be real. That's the fact. That's the truth of the matter. That's what
it's about being more submissive.
Yeah.
So I got money. You're gonna be submissive because I run things and you're relying on me. I mean, even like a lot of women, like a lot of stay-at-home mothers. We were coming up. They only stayed because their husband was bringing the money in. So they had to go for things they probably wouldn't have went for. They were bringing in their own money.
Right. And one of our callers in the chat room is talking about that too, that South America women are trained in the beginning of their long childhood, okay, to cater to their man or their husband, so to understand what their husband's doing.
So the issue here is, are American women not? Are they above that or against that, or is that beneath them?
I'm going to go back to what the lady said in the interview that when we came out of the break, when she says that when you hear, you don't need a man to make you.
Right.
You don't need a man to make you a person. You don't need a man to get what you want. You don't need a man
they get over here and they learn.
But because she's from South America, and she's telling because he asked her, the question was, why do a man has to go to South America to get a Latino woman when they can just come to the Bronx?
Right.
And she told him the difference from being in South America is that when they see an American man, and the conditions there, and they see, oh, God has came down to earth.
Right.
Remember, she said that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said that in the Bronx, I don't need you because I'm here. I have every opportunity to be whatever I want or to get whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
So what she's telling you is she's not looking for you to take care of her. She's not looking for you to bring her to America. And most American women are on that line now that we're equal because in my mother's day and my grandmother's day, they were also trained to take care of their man and do everything. I mean, that's a culture thing with women.
It goes
so
back
it's not
and forth,
race.
though.
Right.
It's like, let's say it, not take care of your man, take care of each other.
Well, no,
when you're married, you're one.
No, there's a different thing, John, because in the old days, regardless what the man did, okay, the woman was trained to stay with him, take care of him, and take care of the family, cook, clean, wash. That's the way it was. Okay, you can't separate that. That's the way it is in South America. That's the way it was in old days here. That's the way it was if you go back into the things like
True that.
When my grandfather, when men came to the house with our grandfather, the kids went outside, and the women went somewhere else. They didn't sit in the room with the man's talking or drinking or whatever.
You're right. You're
okay?
100% right. You're right.
Certain women, the women that we talk about that play, they was down in the Red Barn. They didn't associate with the women in the town or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to the cowboy days, okay? So you have to understand it was two cultures there, and the women was...
That's all over the world, though. You're right about
Right, and the women was made to be part of this one culture.
Horse women didn't hang with the housewives.
But they wasn't part of that culture. See, if you was a whore...
You was a whore.
You was on in a town.
You're right. You're right.
Or
That's
you
what
was
I'm
back this way.
You see how his face lit up, Jay?
You didn't come into the community. Okay.
Sound like you bringing back some memories.
I know about that. I know about that from being a Southern boy and coming from around the thing. See,
exactly.
See, everybody don't understand. In the community, you didn't have bars like this. Okay, you didn't get bars like this until you came up into the big cities. Because in the South, they had what was known as the Red Barn or
juke joint,
or the juke joint. Okay,
yeah.
And that was in the middle of nowhere that everybody went to in the woods. They drank. They did whatever they want to do. Just whores, stole or whatever, and they never brought that in the community. And the church women never seen that. The church woman knew it was there. The church woman knew that James was gone, okay, but they never went that way, and the church never went that way. It was a taboo to talk about it. And if my grandfather or somebody was going over there, everybody, all the men's went, but nobody said me and Tony James going over there. We just went.
Right.
And whatever happened there stayed there.
And once I heard an older man say to me that the South was segregated to nightfall.
Right, but right.
For real, the South was segregated to nightfall.
And if you have to look at it, the North is if you look at Cleveland, Chicago, is more prejudiced and everything than the South is, because in the South, people told you where they stood. Okay, you knew where they stood.
Malcolm X said that.
Okay, up here, you don't know where people stand, and you don't know what really is going on with everything here, because in the South, I knew the people that was robbing, stealing, it was bad.
Right.
Okay?
I read something one time where it said, I forget the book and the person, but the quote was, in the North, the white people don't care how high you get as long as you don't get too close. In the South, they don't care how close you get as long as you don't get too high.
Yeah. And you have to look at this. Like we was talking with the professor before we got knocked off with the storm coming in, and we was talking about Stacey Abrams being Joe Biden's vice president pick, and she's a black woman. Okay, and I didn't get to talk to him about that, and we're gonna go into it a little bit right now. Out of that is that I think that's a good pick for Biden, because it does two things for him. Okay, that everybody don't understand. It stops the Republican Party for trying to tie mass incarceration around his neck, okay, because he's the one to put the bill forward, okay.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have to say this: I'm agreement with what Biden said, okay, because we was talking about that earlier, where I don't care why a person is out there doing what he's doing, but when it comes to my mother and my family, my sons, my daughter, I care about their safety, okay. So we have to deal with that, okay? We have to deal with them people that's out there doing it. All of us know this. But with Biden, this brings the woman factor to him, the Me Too factor to him. It also brings that he's bringing a black lady. He's elevating a person of color to a point where it's never been, okay? Now, we have Barack, but we never had a woman to move into the second in command right there, okay? And then you look at the Southern.
How do you feel about that, honestly, though? Because I think that might be a waste.
No, it's not a waste, because you know why?
No, listen, I mean, are people really going to vote for them? That's what I mean by be a waste.
Yes. It's not going to, you know why?
We couldn't get fit. I mean, okay, more people did vote for Hillary. We didn't have the votes in
electoral college. But you have to look at Hillary. Hillary got hit on two levels, okay? Hillary got hit because the Republicans didn't like her, okay? She got hit on the end with Bernie and the independents, okay? And then she got hit for mass incarceration because we, as colored people, held her to a standard that we didn't want to hold nobody else to, okay? And on top of all those hits that she had, she was a bad candidate. Okay, because she didn't come into the black community. She didn't do what she was supposed to do, and she relied on the Southern coalition to carry her across the finish line. And she would have been president of the United States as the first woman had she not sat with the DNC and did Bernie the way that she did Bernie, and those emails came out. Okay, because that's what cost her in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, okay, those three states right there.
Okay.
So you have to go away there. Stacey Abrams is going to bring something to the election that nobody never thought about. Georgia's in play now. Georgia's in play. Florida's in play. Florida just passed a law to give all felons, that's over 1.5 million people.
You're right.
If your vote didn't count, and I want to tell everybody this in America, if your vote didn't count and if voting did not matter, why is the white Florida legislators right now trying to pass a law that all the felons that got their voting rights restored has to pay the state back all their fines and fees and pay for their incarceration? You know why they trying to pass that law? Because they know that the felons cannot pay no $200,000, $300,000. So that means they can't vote. If the felons vote, if those 1.5 million felons that just got their rights back to vote.
So what's the bill? They trying to get them to pay for the time they were incarcerated?
Right, pay for all their fines, fees, and right there. Because this is the only way they can stop them from voting. This is why I'm telling you your vote count. Because guess what? If those 1.5 million felons that just got their rights back registered to vote, Florida,
That's ignorant.
Florida is now blue forever. Okay, it's no longer a swing state. It's gone. The Republicans can no longer use Florida as that swing. They got to go someplace else, and that means they have to win double states. Okay, they don't get that. Okay, that's why.
Amen. You're right.
That's why they came up with this law, Tone. This is what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. And you remember, Tone, me and you sit in a meeting. I'm not going to name the group, but you remember when I told them about registering people, getting people to vote. A lot of groups are doing that now. Malpractice 101 for any activist is failing to get the people in the community registered and vote, because that's where the change is made.
I think I'm going to do that this year because, like you said, we're getting our hands dirty. That's something very important.
Right.
Man.
And when we get our kids registered, we get our kids registered. Get them to vote.
Right.
Because guess what, Tone? We have a lot of young kids that can verbatim tell you every rap song and the words going on. Just think about it. We can get our young kids and get them to the point where, hey, we might have the next Malcolm X, okay, or Martin Luther King, or get them in office and have them start looking for people coming into the community.
You said that too, because when we were coming up, rap used to teach us stuff. Rap teaches ignorance now.
But you know why? You know why?
It taught us to vote. It taught us a lot of things.
Right, but you know why it teaches that, Judge? Because you have to understand when.
Well, I know why.
No, I'm talking about when we was coming up. This is what I want you to focus on. When we was coming up, the rappers talked about life and what was happening and why they was going to this and what was going on. Okay, and the rappers talked about corruption. The rappers talked about everything that's happening in the community. Matter of fact, it was giving
Public Enemy.
Right, it was giving us an education.
Yeah, it was.
It was giving us an education. Our rappers today is too much into sexual stuff. You have to look at this when I talked about R. Kelly.
Materialism.
Right, R. Kelly got a second charge, and more tapes are coming out, and they piling on and doing stuff. Okay. R. Kelly sat there in Gayle King's, and I had to go back and look at this interview, so I'm going to say this. He asked Gayle King a question that nobody else picked up on, okay, because he didn't have the education. And he asked her, why now? If you remember, he said, why now? And she started telling him about the Me Too movement and everything. It didn't click in his head. He didn't grab it. He couldn't grab it. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
He couldn't grab it. He couldn't understand.
A musical genius, and he couldn't understand.
Right.
He had an
And we wonder right now why he made millions and millions of dollars. He can't even get $161,000. Okay, because they used him, just like they used all the other black artists. And without education, I don't care what you do. LeBron James is probably the only black superstar that has gotten to education because he came from a Catholic school. So now he knows how to deal with his own money from high school. Okay. And he's building his stuff into his mogul things, what he want to do. And he's not letting anybody else play with his money. Okay. That's what we have to educate our kids.
I give him peace for that. I give
even in college, if our kids start taking courses in college, and you look at this, rich people paying to get their kids in college and got away with it until guess what? The person who did it got his foot caught in a trap. So what he do? He go tell on everybody. Remember, number one thing, Jay, your daddy always told you, if you do something, do it by yourself. That way you ain't got to worry about nobody telling on you, okay? Now, all these kids that paid to play, all our kids that really out there is doing stuff. The girl that scored perfect on her test was accused of cheating and couldn't even get into college, okay, because that was a black mark against her, okay? And all the kids that paid to play, okay? We got to change that. Stacey Abrams, when she comes in, she's going to put Alabama in play. States that we never even thought about, okay, turning blue. Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, all the way down to Carolinas.
The one thing we have to do now is hold our Democrats that we elected accountable.
Well, we at this election we got to hold everybody accountable. First, this election.
You know, we can't go Democratic. What are you going to do for my community?
Right. But first we got to do this, and we have to go Democratic, and I'm gonna tell you why we got to go Democratic. Because no Republican holds my values, and I'm gonna say this, okay? Because I'm old Southern Democrat, okay? No Republican holds my values of the way I want my community to see. Because my value is
right.
my value is not for companies, and my values is for the community to have jobs, for people to be treated with respect, and all the way down.
Empathy,
healthcare, all the way down.
Right.
Okay, so when you look at that,
said it back in the day, what,
right.
90 something.
So
what was the lyric?
Blacks are too effing black to be Republican.
Right. So when you look at, I'm not even gonna say that they can't, but when you look at,
no, you have some rich black. Let me say, but
my values,
the values, yeah.
If I'm rich, if I'm rich, see, you have to look at this. If I'm rich, I have different values. Money wants to be with money. Okay, money wants certain things. See, I'm never gonna be rich. See, we're never gonna be rich. Okay, so our values are a little different, Jay, because we're never gonna be rich. So our values is for our kids to have an equal playing ground to make it. If I'm rich, my kid already
Let's
has.
say wealthy, because I'm rich with family.
Well, that's true, but I'm just talking about money.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I just want to clear it up. That's all. That's all.
Each person have a different idea for riches, but when we say rich, we talk about money versus not having money. Okay.
Only in America, because you have other countries called rich, some especially in Africa.
But we not. But you can't keep going to other countries.
But I'm gonna say that's real though.
Right, but you can't keep going to other countries because we're not in Africa. Our ideals, our ideals are not African. I'm not an African.
I'm just saying one country. Period. The whole world.
Right, but
only what we call Western civilization.
But you have to look at this, Jay. Your ideas are different from anybody else's in the world. Okay, it's not the same. We're not raised the same. We're in America. We're in the land of the free, home of the brave, where the black man whose ancestor was a slave can become president. Where I can go to bed with a white woman and have white kids, and it's acceptable. If you did that in Africa, they might kill you. See, so and I'm talking about black people. If you remember when the king in Africa married the British white woman, he lost his throne, okay, and was banned from his own country.
Okay.
So we can't go to another country. We got to embrace what we have. Okay.
I was thinking more worldly, but I understand.
Right. We have to embrace what we have. And if you look what
I just said Africa, but I was thinking more
if you look
worldly.
what Malcolm X said, Malcolm X, if you go back and listen to Malcolm X readings, this is what we're going to do for the next show. I want y'all to go and really look at Malcolm X's readings. He really put the platform down for black community, self-love, and bringing black men into where he needs to be at. He even told you don't never vote for a Democrat, okay, back in that day, because the Democrats wasn't going to do anything for your community. Okay, but that was before we, and people look like me, was able to get into the door. Okay,
right.
so when we look at that and we understand what's going on, we can say that. Okay, so when you come back around to that with Stacey Abrams, as I'm saying, she's going to bring the young kids with her. She's the person that has been an activist and been speaking the talk and the walk since the 60s.
You're right.
She had President Spiro Agnew on a panel, and she schooled him. Everybody go look at that video, Stacey Abrams schooling President Spiro Agnew about race. Okay, so she's tough. It's not that we're giving somebody a spot or
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
And she's old school.
Do. I really do.
And I think that's the best move. And I'm gonna say this right here because Tony been saying this all along for the last 2 years. How can Trump stay where he at, and how can we allow this to happen? And he shouldn't be able to say anything, do anything, or whatever. We got he's talking about not letting the Mueller report be seen. Now he want it to be seen. But actually what he's doing is saying, y'all can see it so he can shut it down. Okay, Republicans are very good because when we was yelling about during the election, Tony Stone, remember, we was talking about the courts. The courts are very important because we live in a democracy. And the people in the courts are going to be the one talking about the laws of our democracy, okay? And they're stacking the courts with people of the beliefs to put us back to where they want us to be. White supremacists. We talked about that earlier with the professor, but we got kicked off. And I'm going to have to get that show back with him and actually get him on there so we can do that. But when you look at this, white supremacy is coming back and has raised its ugly head. And you're right, Tone. It has not been no worse than it was in our day coming up, okay? And you're right, no one community. The only difference is we're not getting beat with baseball bats for walking into an area. We're not having riots at high schools, okay? We've been put into this low mode. What I'm saying is that we've been hoodwinked, as Malcolm X says. We've been hoodwinked into believing that everything's okay. Okay, but everything's not okay. Okay, our kids are not getting education in our school system, and our school system being ran by blacks. Okay, it's not okay. Our police force, it took a black president, a black attorney general to come into an all-black city with a black council, a black mayor, a black chief of police to tell them that the police department was violating their black citizens' rights. Okay? That's somewhere there. It's not okay. We missing something there. And it's not that, and that's why remember I always tell everybody in the meetings, don't get on black and white issues, okay? Because it's not a black and white issue. This is our people. Remember me sitting there with the guy, the activist, I'm not going to mention his name, and I told him, look at me. I'm a black man that was raised up under Jim Crow law in the 60s. Me and you're the same. We're the same. Old black people, young black people coming up in the inner city. Now, I'm going to say this. I know we got our problems. I know our kids got our problems. But when I told him that in the meeting, I was trying to make a point was, there's not a white man over here breaking in my house. There's not a white man over there beating up that old lady. There's not a white man down here committing the mayhem. So we have to talk about that. And that's something that all of us have to sit down and talk about. But I want everybody to understand that if we hold our elected officials accountable and force them to do what they're supposed to do, okay? Look at the red light cameras in the suburbs. They're making millions and millions of dollars off of us. Look at the study they just did, that you're more likely to get pulled over if you're black. Even in a city that's all white, you make up 70% of the tickets issue. That's a problem, okay? And that problem is that we're not holding people accountable. Tamir Rice situation. I can go back before Tamir Rice to 1994. Jeffrey Bell in the city of East Cleveland. Black police officer, black city, black mayor, okay? There's a problem, okay? We have to quit covering up the problem, quit putting a race issue on the problem, quit putting colors on the problem, and talk about the problem. Okay, that's the only way it's going to get solved.
What do you mean quit putting, I do understand what you're saying on some points, but what do you mean quit putting?
Because when we make it black and white, this is what I'm saying. If I'm in an all-black city as Cleveland with a black mayor, a black police chief, we shouldn't be having a racial problem. Okay, because the black police chief is running the police department. That means a black man and his black deputies and his black commanders and his black supervisors.
We don't just we have white deputies and white police officers too, though.
No, but there's a black man. There's a black man running it. You have a black mayor. He sets the rules. The black mayor sets the rules. Nobody moves unless the black mayor said move. Nobody carries a gun and a badge unless the black mayor says you carry that gun and badge. Keep it real.
Oh, you know what? Okay, that's like a parent controlling their children when they leave their house.
Yeah, but there's a difference there between a parent. A parent can't control their children. But guess what?
a mayor can't either.
Yes, the mayor can't, because the mayor is the one's going to set the standard. So if you violate the standard, you won't get a chance to violate the standard on Tony. You may kill me, but the mayor sets the standards, which means once you violate that rule, you don't get that second chance. Amiot had 7 cases. Think about this. If Amiot would have been dealt with on his first 3 or first 2 cases, he'd have never been out there for the Hubbard case. So when you create this environment, see, this is the thing, Jay, what I'm saying.
Well, I understand. I do understand what you're saying, but let's go back here, though. You sit here and say we need more. I'm not gonna say black, but we need more police officers out here. We need more police officers to hold other officers accountable for their actions.
No, we don't need
the mayor is not in the car.
No, we don't need police officers to hold no police officer for their actions. Okay, we don't. Forget that. You know.
I mean, no, hold on. I'm gonna go here.
What I'm saying,
I'm gonna go here.
we need the prosecutor. No, we need the prosecutor and the mayor that we put in office to hold the police officers to do, because that's your state DA. Your city prosecutor is the one who's going to make the decision whether he's going to prosecute this police officer or not. That's why you have to put the proper DA in office, because he's going to make that decision.
That's true too.
And
it goes all the way down. But okay, in North Carolina, when the guy shot the black man in the back and threw the taser, it was he had a black officer right there.
But that'll make no difference. Because
no, it does make a difference. Hold on. I don't mean to holler at you, Uncle. My fault. But it does make a difference, because he was like, "That's not right, dude."
But it don't make no difference.
He went for it, though.
But it don't make.
He didn't hold him accountable.
Wait a minute, but it don't make.
I know it's the blue.
No,
the cold blue.
It doesn't make a difference, Jay.
That's not right.
No. You asking somebody to do something for you. It doesn't make a difference.
No, he's an officer. That's what he's.
Listen to me for a minute. Listen to me for a minute.
Serve and protect.
Okay, listen to me for a minute. You're asking somebody else to do something for you. Listen. When that officer shot that man in the back, and that black officer was standing there, you got a black mayor, you got a black police chief. 2 things should have happened. We're going to charge the officer who shot the man in the back with murder.
Well, he did go to jail.
Just listen to me for a minute so you can understand. Accountability comes down. Accountability has to be from one person. So when the police officer shot the man in the back, okay, you charge him, okay, and then you charge the officer that stood there and didn't do nothing or didn't tell.
Okay. I got that. Okay,
when the mayor says, when the mayor and the police chief, okay, it's just like, and Tone know I said this, so everybody that listens to us over the radio, I said this in the meeting with a white lieutenant there and a black sergeant there. And what did I tell them? When they allow me to go into the streets and violate people's rights or do something wrong, the first thing that should happen after they deal with me is go back into my records and into the policy and see how many times Tony Stone knew that I was out there.
Okay.
How many times Tony Stone turned a blind eye to Shawn out here violating the community rights. Because after you deal with me, guess what? You go in and deal with Tony Stone.
I got you.
Okay. And once they grab Tony Stone and charge Tony Stone with felonies, talking about putting him in jail because he allowed me to do this out there, guess what's going to happen with that structure?
You're right.
Everybody in that structure going to start saying, I'm not going to jail for what you're doing. I'm not. They're going to start holding those officers to accountable. They're going to start dealing with those officers and cutting their heads off.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
That's how you get police accountability.
I got you.
Okay. You hold the chief when the deputies know, when the Mayor White had it, and let me say this, and Mayor White was one of the best executives there was. Mayor White did not deal with city employees. He dealt with the directors. He dealt with the chiefs. He dealt with the deputy chiefs. He dealt with the commanders. He took their job.
Okay.
Okay. You let Jay out there and you let Jay go crazy. Guess what? I'm taking your job. I already got Jay. He tell the city prosecutor, this is what I want. This is why when we go to vote, this is why I tell everybody voting is so important. And everybody looking at me and say, well, it doesn't. I had a preacher tell me, well, voting don't change nothing. Voting don't do this. And the people in the community say, why should I vote? Because ain't nothing going to change. You know what I should have told him? I didn't tell him because he was a good friend of mine, and I really didn't. I was on the road that day because I was talking for about 6 hours, and I really didn't want to do this. But I wanted to look at him. I wanted to look at him and tell him, people in the community say preachers are pimps, and people they're robbing their own people, and they're walking around $200, $300 suits, driving $1,000 car while they taking the lady's last $10 and taking her money. Okay, but that does not stop you from preaching the word of the Lord.
But you know what? I'm glad you went there because, first of all.
But did you get what I said?
100%.
That does not stop him from preaching the word of the Lord. So what that means is, just because somebody say voting doesn't change anything, doesn't mean you don't stop registering and voting. Because the most important thing that happens in our lives happens right here in our backyard. Okay? Our backyard. Our mayor, our DA, our councilman. Because guess who charged people? The DA. He's the one that's going to make the decision whether somebody get charged or not. Okay? He's going to be the one to make the decision. Are we going to overcharge black men, or are we going to properly charge black men?
You know what? I want to step back. Like you said, people call preachers pimps. And that's like, what gets me about that is because people are mad. Like you said, he preaches the word of God. And you're mad at what he drives. Are you mad at what LeBron drives? Are you mad at what Dennis drives? No. Listen. Are you mad at what Dennis drives? Are you mad at what your lawyer drives?
But you're looking at it on two different levels, okay?
No.
I'm not talking about the preacher. No, I'm not talking about the preacher per se.
I just went back to.
But I'm not talking about. No. I'm not talking about.
That aggravates
I'm talking
me when
about.
people say
Wait a
that,
minute.
though.
But I'm talking about when people talk about voting doesn't matter. That's where I want you to get your focus on. When people say voting doesn't matter.
It does.
And it doesn't change anything. And when a man of the cloth say the same thing, what I wanted to say and what I was trying to get you to focus on is that this is what people say about preachers, okay? But it doesn't stop him from preaching on Sunday or going out into the community doing his work, okay? That's all I want the activists in them to focus on. I don't want them to focus on why people doing this or why people jealous, because that's a whole new story right there, okay?
It's free for all,
okay.
but I understand what you're saying.
But I want to get you. I'm going to get into the grip of it, because see, Tone is on this committee, and he's with a guy, and I know for a fact that there's so much going on that I put Tone there because Tone looks at things a little bit different from me, okay? And he looks at things as why we're this, but we shouldn't be looking at it like this, okay? I'm a little bit more old school, more direct. I see a problem and I want to handle the problem direct. Tone looks at the problem and say, okay, well, we're not the only one, and he's a little bit more liberal. That's why I put him with the people so he can sit there and get in their perspectives. But when we start looking at what's going on, we have to look at it. We have to underturn every rock. Every rock. But next week we're gonna talk about some things that I want y'all to really do your homework on. We're gonna talk about Malcolm X. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And we're gonna go there for free for all. We ain't gonna hold no punches. Okay. And I want y'all to look at his readings, because I actually want you to understand why he turned from the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. Okay, because that's actually tells us as a black community where our downfall is at. Okay, coming from the teachings.
I'm ready for it. Yeah, I'm glad.
Media puts us. We're part of the media. We talk about things and we bring out the bad things of everything, and then we don't, as some say, we don't put forward what we can do. But at times you can't put forward what you can do unless you know you got a problem.
But you know what? See, I'm not really a big TV watcher, and it's so like the media. I'm like you said, I'm in the barbershop, so I see what the community is doing. It's different. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand. The media has sidetracked me when I was younger. I'm more educated now.
But when you're in the streets, see, this is the difference that everybody don't understand. When you're in the streets, you actually see what's going on. See, this is the problem with most of our activists. They're not in the streets.
Exactly.
Okay, they don't.
Or the people we elected.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But the people we elected not in the streets. Okay.
So they have no empathy for the streets.
And they have no idea what's going on.
Exactly.
Just like right now, your police chief probably doesn't understand what's going on in this community right now.
You're right.
Okay, he's too busy trying to be a politician.
Exactly.
The mayor doesn't understand what's going on. But if you go into the barbershop, or you go to the lady that's crossing the school kids, or you go to the old lady down the street, they know everything. I remember when I was a detective.
You said this. Funny,
right. I remember when I was a detective. If I wanted to know something, I got out of that car and walked the neighborhood and started talking with people. And you'd be surprised who's looking at you. You'd be surprised. I tell the police officers when I train them, you'd be surprised the eyes that are on you. You think you by yourself. Just like you talking about when that police officer shot that guy in the back running. He never knew there was a guy way back over there with a telephone filming him.
You're right.
Okay? If he'd have known that, he'd have never tried to plant the taser on him. He'd have never told him that bullshit, okay? Eyes, big brothers, cell phones is everywhere. But to that thought right there, Tony Stone and J Mac, hold your thought.
Fan base is big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes. So I was told, following the ramble down the yellow brick road. Please believe at the end, ain't no pie to go. Just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets. You ain't never ever seen.
Hey, right there, we got an electrical storm coming through. To the people on XM, I'm sorry we got bopped off and you just now coming back with us. Tony Stone, what's up?
Instagram Live. I set the mic on fire a couple hours ago. I
Yes,
got
he
hot
did.
on him. But no, if
He's
y'all
not-
missed it, tune in. Go to the YouTube channel or go to the USTREAM link. Make sure you tune in next week so you don't miss it. My people out there, it's a lot of people out there that think you a joke. They think you a loser, take you for granted. Show them different from Tony Stone. 100.
Hey, and I'm going to go with Tony today. Tony, I don't think anybody think they're jokes or anything, but you know what? We need to talk about what's going on. But J Mac from the shop with that gossip is going on. Jay, tell us something.
I don't have no gossip. I don't gossip, but I'm just giving you the word from
It's got to be gossip because you telling us what was said in the shop.
You know what? I don't listen to what's said in the shop. I go listen, or I don't listen. No, I don't listen to the gossip. I'm going by what I see in reality. You know what I'm saying? For real. And I just want to thank y'all for tuning in with us and just listening to us. You know what I'm saying? Just listening to us. I mean, spending your time, you could be doing something else, but listening to us. I appreciate that.
Hey, right there, that was J Mac from the shop. You know, we're going to get the professor back online with us, and we're going to finish our conversation about Trump, white supremacy, and the Mueller report. Next week, we're going to get the professor up there. We're going to be going on our spring break. And after that, coming back, we're going to have some preachers come into the studio with us, and we're going to really be talking about what's going on. I'm your host, Shawn, live from Studio 51. See ya.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio 100.